Welcome to the Friday bonus edition episode. I'm your host, the 1 Minute News guy, and I'm going to dive right into it today. There's been a theme of this week that's been a little silly, a little crazy, but I think it has a lot of power. And I think we're in a position right now where it is assumed as almost a joke sometimes via online, but also has the power to ruin someone's life. And I'm going to be talking about cancel culture, and I feel like I say culture weird. Okay, I'm going to be talking about cancel culture and the effects it has and the implications it has on us as a society and as we continue to move forward, because we saw this week that cancel culture has really been honestly a one-sided thing, a very left-sided thing, progressive thing that people push of these like outrage culture and cancel culture to really just ruin people's lives over what they've said, over things they've said in the past, whether they were young or of age, or said while intoxicated, like Roseanne, and that there would be no forgiveness for those repercussions. And it's starting to become even more of a thing where even if you say you support Donald Trump, that's when it's just as bad as saying something really evil. Because people equate Trump supporters as just as evil as saying Hitler was a great man. Like, people see that as the same, and I hope somebody doesn't just splice what I just said and put it together, because I do not think he was a great man. He was a terrible, awful human being, and honestly, it shows how evil we can go as a society if we don't keep each other in check, and also how a totalitarian, like a very authoritarian regime can take over a very civilized country like ours and do evil things. So that's always something to be watching out for. And again, it's Friday, so we're starting into it today. I'm just enjoying some Kirkland bourbon, 7 years. It's that kind of Friday. I'm enjoying this Friday. I was on vacation last week. I apologize for no bonus episode, but your boy's got to hang out on the beach and enjoy a good time. So I did it, and I enjoyed myself. I hope you guys enjoyed yourself over the 4th of July. I missed you guys. I missed the people that listened to the bonus episode. I know I get a different crowd for the bonus episode. Some of my bonus episode people don't listen to my 1 Minute News, which is always crazy to me because I just provide unbiased news. It's not biased. You don't hear my silly commentary. But some people like to hear what I think, which is interesting because I work full-time. This isn't my full-time job, and I'm flattered by it. I hope I speak well for you, and I hope I speak thoroughly and carefully as I talk, because I don't want to be fired from my job. I don't want people to find out who I am and dox me. But at the same time, I want to stand for what I believe in, and I want to not be afraid of saying what I believe. And if that gets me canceled, then so be it. I think we're in a part in our history and in culture and time where we either sit down and cower in front of the mob, whether it's online or not. People act like online mobs aren't scary, but they are. I mean, I've seen where the businesses, they just raid your Twitter, then they go all over your Yelp, they go over your Google, they email your boss, they constantly email your boss saying horrible things, they make phone calls, they do all these things, and they find out everything about you. To say it's like a joke is really idiotic and not carefully thought out. Yes, I get stuff online calling me names, calling me just a stupid Trump supporter when I haven't said anything of the such. You can assume whatever you want based on how I speak. That's fine. I mean, people all do all the time. People always ask me, and I just don't care to talk about it because I just feel like I don't know why. I rather talk about ideas than I don't align with a party or a person. I align with ideas, and I subscribe to those ideas, and I hold those ideas to be self-evident. I hold those ideas to be true, and I want my life to reflect those kind of ideas. So It's very vague, but now let's get into it. The Friday bonus edition episode. AOC, which I apologize if that already triggered you, but AOC says people who actually canceled don't get their thoughts published and amplified in major outlets. This has been a public service announcement, says AOC in a tweet. She continues, the term cancel culture comes from entitlement. That's honestly a stretch. I would argue the other side. To cancel somebody for something they said is more entitlement than being canceled for something you said. Anyways, as though the person complaining has the right to at large a captive audience, and no one is a victim if people choose to tune them out. Okay. Odds are you're not actually canceled. You're just being challenged. Okay, let's stop there. Because I've seen where cancel culture is more than just being challenged. I think being challenged is calling people out and then asking them to explain themselves. And then when they do, and if they apologize or say that they've done something wrong, or say, oh, I didn't, like what Kevin Hart. He was like the nicest guy ever. How could you hate him? He had all those old tweets. People lost their minds. He apologized for them. They asked him to continue to apologize. And here's the problem with the mob. Once you start apologizing, that's not enough. You got to keep going. You have to have your life ruined in order for them to finally be done with you. So to say that it's just a simple challenge is silly. And, when people tweet these kind of things, especially our public service, our people in office, you expect them to think before they tweet sometimes. Okay? That's not saying all our politicians think that way. Okay? But I wish they would think before they tweet. You're just being challenged. You're being held accountable, which is held accountable to what? What standard? Because there's a standard of decency, and then there's a standard of just madness, where if you don't comply with me on my beliefs, then I'm going to cancel you. And you're not allowed to have a different belief than me, because I believe what I believe is the truth and what you believe is not the truth. Okay, so you're either challenged, held accountable, or unliked. Really? Unliked? Again, the cancel culture, I've seen people's lives being ruined, like the Covington kids. They did nothing. The mob went after them. Then media went after them. And they made this whole lie, this whole story, which they sued CNN over, which is so great, because I hate when the media is so eager to have a story, they will lie to your face in order for your views. It's ridiculous. So I'm a little fired up right now. To say it's unliked or being held accountable is just plain silliness. To say a light word. She goes on to say, I have an entire TV network dedicated to a strong hatred of me. It's because of what you tweet. A white supremacist and popular network shows regularly distorts me in dangerous ways. That's to say that cancel culture is being challenged, being held unaccountable or unliked, and to kind of just brush it off, but then go to say that there's this network, I'm assuming she's saying Fox News, is spouting dangerous ideas in dangerous ways and distorting things she says and calling it dangerous. But then before that, she says that, you're just unliked. You're being held accountable. Well, I would argue that maybe this network is just holding you accountable for things you say. And to say it's dangerous is an overstatement, and kind of negates everything you just said. She says, it's a normal part of my existence to get death threats from their audience. And that's also aggressive, because you can't say that everyone that is giving her those kind of threats all watches Fox News. There's other platforms out there. There's other ways to prescribe to the news. It's not just all Fox News. That's just really silly. And again, and she didn't say Fox News. I'm assuming, and I'm afraid to assume, but what other network would she be talking about? Daily Caller. They're not big enough. I don't know. Okay, and she goes on. And then she goes, and I get death threats all the time. You don't see me complaining about cancel culture. Really? You kind of just did. Anyways, many of people actually canceled are long denied a fair hearing for their ideas to begin with. So this is like a great statement. I agree with her. Many people that are actually canceled are those denied a fair hearing for their ideas. Exactly. And that is my biggest problem with it, is that people will just cancel people off these little ideas, these snippets, or they'll take things out of context, like you see what the media does in speeches all the time. They'll take these little snippets and go, look how dumb this person looks. Or they'll just manipulate people and what they say in interviews and all that kinds of stuff like that. I 100% agree. And just also take away the context. Maybe the kid was 13 years old on Twitter and he said something stupid. When you were 13, were you saying stupid stuff? Absolutely. Yes, so was I. Thank God we didn't have Twitter. Those of us that didn't have Twitter at 13 years old. I fear for the middle school kids I hang out, that I teach, that of things that they put on social media. Like, be careful what you put. I always tell them that, because it might come around to bite you in the butt later in life. You need to be careful, because thank God I did not have it. That kind of makes me sound like I was like this crazy kid. I was actually very quiet and subdued, and like I said before in my other shows, I was picked on a lot. So I was just, I don't know what I would have wrote on Twitter. I don't know. Maybe I would have called out my bullies. I tried to get them doxxed. Anyways, so she says, denied a long hearing for their ideas to begin with. This is so great. She then goes on to Palestinian human rights advocates. Sure. Abolitionists. Okay. Anti-capitalists. Sure. Like yourself. Anti-imperialists. Sure. These are all things. These are ideas that she prescribes to. And so she's advocating for herself. She's saying, well, my ideas aren't being heard because people dox me. It's not fair. Not spicy contrarians who want to play devil's advocate with your basic rights in the New York Times. And she's kind of calling out the New York Times, the whole writers getting together and saying that this is like Noam Chomsky and all those people getting together and say, cancel culture is enough, freedom of speech, which is so interesting. It's good to see people come around to the idea of freedom of speech and how important it is for us as a society and country to continue to go by. I'm happy that it's not just conservatives speaking up. It's also, there's more and more liberals that you continually see on Twitter. There's like The Hill. There's more news groups like Tim Cast, and there's other. He was on Vice News, which is like the most liberal thing ever. Good to see that there's people can think logically and have reason with some of these ideas, and they're not just losing their minds. Okay. All right. So she's saying that cancel culture is not really a thing. It's your ideas are being challenged, but then yet she says, well, no one listens to my ideas. So let's go to our trusty definition. The most trustworthy news source and research that you cannot use if you go to get your master's or bachelor's, FYI, Wikipedia. And I looked up cancel culture. They said, the act of canceling, also referred to as cancel culture, a variant term called call-out culture, describes a form of boycott in which an individual, usually a celebrity, who has acted out or spoken questionably or controversial manner is boycotted. So, they are saying it's real. I believe it's real. AOC says it's not real, except for when her ideas are out. And it most definitely is real, right? Are you with me? Are you listening to this podcast and you have seen the harm cancel culture has done and the harm being against freedom of speech and also just against forgiveness? Okay, and so what did we see this week? We saw AOC going against everything she stood for. We saw Goya guy, the CEO of Goya, who makes fantastic beans. I'm not gonna lie, I use those black beans all the time in the seasoning. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend you use their beans, especially now that people are against them. Then again, it doesn't matter. Use beans what you like. Don't just buy food that tastes good. Don't go for the food that has a political message. I mean, it's so silly. Why does every product have to have a political message? Can't we just enjoy a product because it's good these days? I was playing a video game and they were just like talking politics in the middle. I'm just here to escape reality for a minute. Can't we all just do that for every once in a while? Isn't that a possibility? I'm going on a tangent right now. I am over social media and politics. Can you stop posting about politics? Can we make a social media app that doesn't allow politics, and we can just go back to like pictures of family and laughing and silly jokes here and there, or just updates about people's lives? Why is it that I'm just so tired of I just wish politics weren't allowed on any social media platform. And then again, that's not freedom of speech. But then again, Facebook and Twitter need to figure out if they're a platform or they're a publisher. And because right now they're acting like a publisher. Okay. So the Goya CEO says in a press conference with Donald Trump, he says, "We are blessed to have a leader like Donald Trump. People lose their minds." Okay. AOC lost her mind saying, "Well, I'm just now Googling how to find a adobo recipe," aka that's her funny way of saying that she's like canceling them. And then Lin-Manuel jumps in, which is funny because people were just talking about canceling him earlier in the week, so maybe he's like trying to get up good graces right now for the Hamilton stuff. Then Chrissy Teigen jumps in, which is she's all about cancel culture lifestyle. She drops the F-bomb and then says Goya gives like millions, enormous amount of money to charities, helps impoverished people everywhere, is an incredible story, and gives hundreds of jobs to people all around the world. And this is a company we should boycott because they're so terrible. Because he said we're blessed to have a leader like Donald Trump, and he doubled down. Okay, and whether you agree with Donald Trump or you like Donald Trump, I agree with this stance. If you say something that you believe in, that you hold true, and the mob comes after you, you just say, "I'm not apologizing. This is what I believe." And you will find that they will slowly go away. The more you apologize, the more you agree with, "Oh yeah, you're right, I'm sorry," the more they come after you until your life is over. I mean, I work with kids. I love kids. But as soon as one person has an idea to go against the norm of the class, they all look around and say, "We should do that too. Yeah, I'm going to start singing in the middle of class." Or like last semester before COVID, they started doing TikTok dances in the middle of class. And then another one would start doing another TikTok dance. And then another one would start doing another TikTok dance. And I would just sit in that classroom like, they are mobs. If I don't stop this, smash this, squash this right now and make a stance, that if they're going to all be dancing in class and not doing math. So, though they're all ADD and so am I. So sometimes we need a dance break every 5 minutes in life. So he went forward with it and he said, "I'm not apologizing. It's suppression of speech. I can say whatever I want. I believe this. I'm going to say it. I still make a great product. You don't have to buy from me. People will still buy from me. I mean, restaurants will still buy." I like that. Stand up for what you believe in. Don't be afraid of the mob. Even if they come after you on social media, who cares? You can just block them. Where it gets dicey is when they go after your employer and then they just email them like crazy, and then your employer caves to them. I always want to be a part of an organization that stands up for their employees, and I feel like I am. Okay, and then another outrage thing is like Ford employees are urging car manufacturers to stop making vehicles for law enforcement amid widespread outcry against police brutality. And that's kind of how it starts, right? It starts with like these little rumblings in the bushes, like we should stop this. And then if people start to have get on with that idea, and then the voice gets louder and louder, and the mob gets louder. Yeah, we should boycott Goya. Yeah. And then the Goya CEO goes, "I'm not apologizing." And then they're kind of lost. I bet you in 2 weeks, all those people that tweeted against that will be like, you know what, Goya beans are actually pretty good. So, and I like that adobo seasoning. So, I stand up for what you believe in, people. Cancel culture is so dumb. But this is where it kind of flips, and I find this interesting. I thought I was going to see it before my eyes. Deshaun Jackson this week, who I routinely pick up on my fantasy football because he's always good for at least 1 or 2 games where he has like a breakout and he goes crazy against a defense for you fantasy football nerds out there. But he kind of posted a Hitler quote with was controversies like, is it a Hitler quote? But it's a tie to Hitler, saying that white Jews will blackmail America and extort America and world domination if the N-word know who they were, blah, blah, blah. And he posted this, got backlash for it. The Eagles posted something about it, said they would talk to him. Then Deshaun apologized. And that's how it should go. If you say something stupid in your life, or you write something stupid online, you then apologize for it, especially if you're a public figure, and then it goes away. That's how it should be in life. But we become these silly children where we want more. I want his life to be, I want him to be fired. I mean, it's different if he would post this and then double down and keep posting it. It's like, well, this is what I believe, and then start posting like Hitler pictures, and it's like, that would be totally different. But it was also interesting to see other NFL players like Shannon Sharp. Come on, Skip. Like kind of back Deshaun Jackson up. And Shannon Sharp says, when the whites say something bad in the NFL, they get Tony Dungy to clean it up. Okay. When the person in the Jewish, where's the person in the Jewish community that will come to our defense? And then he says, I'm not excusing Deshaun, but whites never have to disavow. Jerry Jones and Mike Kraft stand stock, lock, and barrel with Trump. Okay, standing with Trump and quoting Hitler. Is that where we're at, really? I'm sorry, are you a liberal? And then you just somebody voting for Trump is the same as quoting Hitler? Really? A guy that wanted to exterminate all the Jews? That's the same thing? Because this is what I'm talking about with outrage and cancel culture. That is not the same thing. The fact that Shannon Sharp was on Fox Sports even saying these things is ridiculous. He should come out and apologize. Because that's insanity. No, but this is the norm. It's okay to say stuff like that. It's okay to say, posting a quote about that is referred back to Hitler is the same thing as standing with Trump. It should have just ended with the apology. And then that's all we talked about. It was him asking for forgiveness and us going, fantastic, that's great, let's move on. There's bigger things in the world than a stupid quote that you might have misread, missed out of context. Could have been quoting Louis Farrakhan, which probably was, and blaming on somebody else, saying that they have this power on it, or I don't know, but it should have ended with the apology, and that's it. I mean, I saw earlier this week of that CEO screaming at I think it was an Asian couple or Asian family having a birthday, tell them Donald Trump's going to blank them, and he got doxxed, and he got all these calls, and the news agency went and they found the guy who made the video, and he said, and then supposedly that CEO apologized for it, said I was stupid and all this stuff, and he goes, I don't accept the apology, I don't want it. And that's where we are. Okay? If you look a certain way, or you act a certain way, or you align with somebody, you're not allowed to ask for forgiveness. Your life needs to be ruined. But Deshaun Jackson can just say whatever he wants. It just depends on if you're an ally or not, right? And what side you're on. It's really sad. We should be all unified and be continuing learn how to forgive one another for our stupid mistakes. Louis B. Smedes says, or Smedes, to forgive is to set a prisoner free and discover that the prisoner was you. So who's the real prisoner? Is it that CEO that was saying those terrible things? Or is it the guy that says, you know what, I'm not going to accept your apology. I'm going to hold on to this. I'm going to hold on to this anger and frustration, and I'm going to keep it to myself. I'm angry, and I want the world to know how angry I am. That's okay. But in the end, who's the real prisoner? If you would just say, you know what, man, maybe you had a long day. I forgive you for saying something stupid. I know your life's probably going to be worse off than it is now because of the video I put online. Maybe I shouldn't even done that. But God, that's what I want in this culture. That's what I want from people. I want to see forgiveness. I want to see running towards healing rather than division. But no, we're going to stay with division. Mahatma Gandhi said, who also, was canceled because, he's, despite the good stuff he did, he was still, he said terrible things. And I agree. But it doesn't mean that there's things people say aren't good. He said, the weak never forgive. That is so... It takes so much strength to forgive another person when they hurt you. I mean, I don't remember that. There was that one story of somebody getting murdered, and I remember hearing the son or somebody testifying on stand. He was weeping on stand, and he didn't have to testify, but he wanted to testify because he wanted to look the killer in the eyes and say, I forgive you for killing. And I just remember crying obnoxiously watching this video. Because there's nothing more beautiful in life than forgiveness. There's nothing more beautiful in life than forgiveness. Gandhi continues and says, forgiveness is an attribute of the strong. Yes. The weak can never forgive. We must learn how to forgive. And I pray that those people that don't want to forgive listen to this. Maybe share this. We have to learn how to forgive and unify as a country, or this country is going to be torn to pieces. And once again, I always continue to say this, is that I think there is better people in this country than there is evil people. Let's learn how to forgive. Last quote, and I'm just going to end it with this. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, and anger, brawling and slander, along with every form of malice. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as Christ has forgiven you. Thank you.